How are we handling the heroin crisis? Well, we all know that heroin is an addiction. It's a dark creature with an unnatural wrongness that can tear up families and society's fragile weave. Statistics of using heroin say that it comes with a lot of tragedies. The number of people dying from overdose of prescription opioids has increased 200% over the last 15 years. Heroin is a disease. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention estimates 4.3 million Americans a month abuse prescription painkillers. The result of painkillers and OxyContin, in which you can receive from your own doctor or pharmacists, has been turning to much more gateway drugs. So we know addiction is something that it's very hard to get out of, and we're not doing much to help them. Romans 7:24, "What a wretched man I am! Who will rescue me from this body that is subject to death?" This shows defeat in human strength. You can do all things through God. The heroin crisis is a sin. It's a mortal sin that impures your soul. So deep down, it's something that you have to get out of, although it's so hard. According to CDC, almost 7,000 people are treated in emergency rooms for using drugs other than as directed. And what are we doing about this? Well, a story on Pill Pushers describes everything. A lady didn't meet her drug dealer, quote unquote, in an alley or on the street, but in her own doctor's office. The poison she ingested was not from a drug cartel, but from chemists in a lab. Years ago, a doctor prescribed her an opioid painkiller after she injured herself. She then developed a tolerance for that drug that required her to take more pills. The tolerance was an addiction, which a doctor stopped prescribing her. She then turned to heroin. On these really high dosage pills, just taking one pill can end your life, Dr. Andrew Colodini says. The company Purdue Pharma promoted OxyContin even though they knew this drug was highly addictive. So people addicted to painkillers are 40 more times likely to be addicted to heroin. So people are handing this stuff out, but why, if they know it's addictive? So, although they knew this drug was addictive, they still give it out. And why are they giving it out? Because of media. Media is the biggest part in our society now, which is why they need to incorporate drugs in there to get more people to buy it. Who won the drug war? Media. We know about the crack houses where people would ultimately sell their bodies for drugs. This can be caused by off-the-label prescribing of painkillers, OxyContin, killing 80 Americans every day. So, yeah, we know about the junkies. Yeah, we know about that. But this is starting to affect more and more people, high class, middle class, everyone. It's affecting our human rights. Because all we want is a common good, which we're not getting through this war on drugs. So, historically, the big pharma was never allowed to advertise prescription medicines a long time ago on the radio or TV companies. But they knew that this would cause increase in sales. So thanks to the mass media and big pharma, advertising is oblivious, which means it's all over the place now. So with all this advertising, which is relatively false, the Food and Drug Administration is charged with protecting consumers from dangerous drugs, but they didn't move quickly enough in the serious business of approving new forms of advertising individual drugs or classes of drugs. So although the FTC was skeptical on the question whether consumers could get enough information about the powerful new drugs, 11 major pharmaceutical companies, the most common ones, agreed to pay $13 billion in fines since 2009 for illegal promotion of drugs. That right there violates the Ten Commandments. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. That's the 10th commandment. And media is lying to us. And they're basically willing to do anything even though they know these are deadly drugs. The onslaught of new drugs began in 1990 with patent drugs. Many of the drugs developed by the early 2000s had limited application but marketed at high prices and produced large profits. The outcome of these drugs made by the big pharma physicians is enticing these doctors. So basically, they're saying, hey, you just created addictive drugs for people and made us big bucks. So here's a vacation to an exotic resort or destination that you can bring your family while all these people are getting addicted and you know that they're addictive. So the results of that is now the drug advertisements are so common, we hardly think about how they infiltrated our daily routines. We need to make this known how addictive it is. So the intent, we're using treatments or solutions because we want high profits, although the human rights are being violated and we're treating these people like they're worthless. Hey, you're a junkie, you're never going to get out of this heroin. But you always can, and you can do that through God. So there is a treatment for heroin addiction that actually works, but why aren't we using it? Because we don't have full knowledge about these drugs. According to the medical establishment, medication coupled with counseling is the most effective form of treatment for opioid addiction. And what are we doing about that? Well, to enter the drug treatment system, it does require a leap of faith. So we do need to get these heroin addicts to say, yes, I'm addicted, I need help. Peer-reviewed data and evidence-based practices do not govern how rehabilitation faculties work. So we don't have that much knowledge about it. But what I did find out is that opioids, cocaine, and alcohol alter the brain in different ways. Drug treatment facilities generally do not distinguish between addictions. Is it because they're lazy or because there's so many addictions that you can get addicted to? Heroin addicts are treated like any other addicts. Roughly 90% of faculties grounded in the principle of abstinence, meaning heroin addicts are systematically denied to access of Suboxone and other synthetic opioids. $31,500 is what a 30-day on average for a residential treatment center is. In these treatment facilities, they can experience tough love, self-help lectures, and also dull nights in front of the television. Is that really helping these people? No, because the programs are so disorganized. Usually, after a few weeks into the programs, addicts may glow as if they're born again or act as if they found new clarity. But Dr. Greet states, it's time for everyone to wake up and accept that abstinence-based treatments only works under 10% of opioid addicts. We need to find the deep down meaning of why these people are getting addicted. More than 90% of opioid addicts in abstinence-based treatments return to opioid abuse within just 1 year. The brain only changes but doesn't recover when you stop using the drug. So yes, Suboxone, methadone can given daily in rehabilitation centers. These people wake up, they take it, and then they just sit around the TV. But that doesn't actually take away the mental problem that these people have, this disease they have within themselves that impairs your soul. When medical schools in the U.S. mostly ignore addictive diseases, the majority of frontline treatment workers are either low-skilled or poorly trained, making them very incapable of providing the bare minimum of medical care. We're not getting the common good. We're treating these people worthless. Every human should be treated the same, no matter what addiction they have. So, the foundation of the new law is violated as well. Agape. Treat others as you would like to be treated. If your family member or you yourself was having this addiction problem they feel like they can't get out of, and we're having low-trained people that are incapable of helping others, it's just insane. The techniques these people are practiced contradict evidence-based practice. So those with a 12-step orientation, which a lot of rehabilitation centers do have, are tended to hold research-supported approaches in low regard. In the early 1970s, the Nixon administration promoted methadone to head off what was seen as brewing public health crisis. Politicians viewed them as a nuisance to property. So many politicians think, oh, we can't use these detox because it doesn't actually help the person. There's many things within the mind. So the object of this is we're not doing enough for the heroin crisis. We're not doing enough for these people that are addicted. It was more of a detox than a successful solution. It was an immoral solution. We're giving these people this drug and we're saying, hey, that's all you need, go home, when they are open to shooting themselves up with heroin because they're not fulfilled by Suboxone or methadone. In 2002, Suboxone became a treatment for opioid dependence. Suboxone was formulated to be more difficult to manipulate if an addict uses improperly, which most of the time these addicts don't have supervision, they send them home. And they can inject this and go into withdrawals themselves. Withdrawals of heroin can include restlessness, muscle spasms, insomnia, diarrhea, vomiting, cold flashes, and kicking movements that you can't control. So this is taking over your entire body when you're addicted to this. Neither Suboxone nor methadone is a cure. It simply buys addicts time to fix their lives, seek out counseling, and allow brains to heal. That is what we need these people to do. The natural law is violated. Good is to be done and pursued, evil is to be avoided. Heroin is evil. Although Dr. Bankole Johnson says there have been so many papers on this, the impact of methadone and Suboxone is not even controversial. But, on the other hand, as the National Center on Addiction and Substance Abuse said, treatment methods were determined before anyone understood the science of addiction. We started off with the wrong model. The wrong model is just detoxing and not actually going deep down into what is wrong with this crisis. What addicts face is a revolving door, an ongoing cycle of waiting for treatment, getting treatment, relapsing, and restarting. The amount of chaos this drug has caused altered our world in many different directions. We need to understand that this new drug, who is accessible to anyone, needs to be cautioned more than it is. In heroin crisis, white families seek gentler war on drugs. This is an article I found in a magazine. A family with an Army background lost a daughter from a heroin overdose after she was kicked out of the Army for drug use. This shows that not just junkies, but anyone that you love can be addicted. This has become the norm.